threw it off, huh?
Yeah, noticed. Yeah, but I got something for you that you weren't expecting. So,
oh Lord.
Up in the 5-star telly, saying 2 mic rhymes, speed up average. These are the times. Unlike them, we grab gems, so systematically inclined to pen lines without saying the producer's name. I'm over the track. Yeah, I said it. What you need to do is get back to reading credits. Read the medics, alphabetics.
This needs to be my up to bat music right here. Bars. Bars.
Bust that ass and get up. Dust off the mask, Corba laugh, give him a head up. He got jumped, he pumped his adrenaline. He said it made him tougher than a bump of raw medicine. To write all night long, the hourglass is still slow. Flow from hellborn to free power like Lil Cole. But still old bills, paid dues forever. Slave use when it comes to who's more cleverer. Used to wear leather goose feed with the fur collar. And charge the fee for loose leaf, words per dollar. You heard holler. Broad or do you need food? Eat your team for sure, the streets you'll see rude. For fam like the partridges, pardon him for the mix-up. Battle for your Atari cartridges and put your kits up.
Wow. All right. So, what's up? This is episode 111. 111. We talked about this earlier in the week. It's episode 111 of the Collective Podcast. Man, I'm so, I'm super excited. So shout out to it being episode 111. In honor of episode 111, I'm gonna take y'all back to LA, and my co-host SG Trilogy knows about it, as does Cuzzo in the building. Taking it back
What's good?
What's up? Taking it back to the younger days of Dub C when he was in a little group called Low Profile. Dub C was talking about paying your dues. So this is just a shout out to Dub C, who's from allegedly
Now
from
here we go.
111.
Y'all gotta play.
Oh, dude, what about a sucker like you who ain't never paid dues? Hey, so anyway, what's up? This is what episode 111 of the Collective Podcast. We're glad you guys are here. I am AC from LA. I got my partner here, SG Trilogy. Don't get concerned. He was presenting himself as SG3 up until today, and he realized he was going to go with the Twitter handle instead of the IG handle, so he's SG Trilogy.
Or this is my actual IG handle right here, SG Trilogy.
I'm sorry, he's going to go with the IG handle. So then you're probably going to go back to the Twitter handle since that's where you live.
No, I'm gonna start using that. I'm gonna start using the IG more because it can do real stories and really promote the brand. So we're gonna rock with IG and SG Trilogy.
Look at the innovation. Okay, and then honored guest right here, my cousin, Cuzzo Donald Fields Jr., aka Don.
You don't have to give all my full name, bro. I mean, I didn't put my handle on for a reason. This is
saying, man, why you gotta get, man? Look, why you got to drop the man's full government?
Dude,
you know, his full government
name.
Come on.
You see, I clearly didn't put any @ in my name, bro. Like, clearly. So I might not want people to know that I'm doing this right about now.
My bad.
Since you dropped the whole freaking name, now they know my dad's name and everything. Like, just give them my social name, you know, we rocking.
So at least let me tell you why. Because I'm a junior, and then he's a third, and actually has a fourth, and then one of the ghosts of Podcast Past was actually a senior. So, you know, it was a play on suffixes. But you're right. So joining us from an undisclosed location in Atlanta, Georgia is Don.
That's right. There we go.
Don,
Make that a lot better.
You want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah, no, I mean, I am me, man. Just here. My cousin's been inviting me, and I cut off my gym session short just to be able to hop on here today, man. Just so at least I can say I did this one time. So, you know, I'm honored to be here, you know, and talk some shit, you know, and that's just what I do.
All right. Well, we're absolutely honored to have you. And we're going to get going. So this is episode, like I said before, this is episode 111. Thank you to the viewership for coming through. And then if you're listening to this on the DSPs, thank you for coming through to listen. We absolutely appreciate you. Donde está Rodney? No está aquí. And I don't know. So we'll just leave it at that. Elaine, we're not going to make jokes about it like we did with Trey and Mike. I just think I'm not going to air it on the air. But good morning, Elaine, in Waco, Texas. Elaine is in Waco, Texas. And she doesn't mind us telling where she is. And again, Don is not anywhere near me. He's in Atlanta, Georgia, in an undisclosed
secret location.
All right. So anyway, we're going to get into it. This will be kind of a brief one. We're going to keep it under an hour, or keep it right at an hour, because your boy has to get out to Oxnard to go work Cowboys training camp. And so I have to get on the road at about 9:10 Pacific, 11:10 Central. So let's get into it. You got the list, brother Trilogy. All right, go ahead, kick it off.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, let's kind of get into our week, kind of rewind real quick to go over how our week went. And so I'm going to throw it back to you. How was your week, brother?
So I appreciate you asking that. Okay, I can't help it. So I slept and then I worked. No, okay.
No, just
all right. No, don't do that.
We're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. It was hectic. It was hectic. It was fulfilling, but hectic. Brianna got a dog for the girls and for Brianna, but then she didn't have any help from the girls taking care of it. And then she was like, this is a heck of an undertaking. So she was like, can you help me find a home? Because I'm thinking about da-da-da-da-da. And so I reached out to my sister, and her best friend Malcolm was like, yo, I'll take the dog. So kind of a couple of miscommunications there, but ultimately he wound up getting Onyx on Wednesday. So I love Onyx. I spent a lot of time with him. He's still around because I dropped my kid off at Danielle's house yesterday, and Onyx was there. So got to have a little reunion. Kayla got to have a reunion, so that's cool. I was zapped by the drive to Oxnard on Thursday for Cowboys training camp. Like that, I just had no energy once I got home on Thursday, and I didn't have a lot of energy yesterday. And so with that training camp and then with some other personal stuff that went on, it was kind of a hectic week. I've talked to you both about a business unit that I'm rolling out, and I was working on, doing that in the background. And so, again, a fulfilling week, but really, really hectic. I do appreciate you asking. How was your week?
Man, it was a busy week. In terms of news, sports, there's so much going on. It seemed like you and I texted or something every single day, because just the news cycle is ramping up. And so a lot of things happening there. Man, a lot of emotion, especially as we kind of drift into our first topic. We wanted to talk about this Emmett Till monument. And so that was one of the things for me, for those that aren't aware of the story of Emmett Till, which by now you would think the majority of anyone would know the story of Emmett Till, but he was a 14-year-old teen from Chicago, sent down to Mississippi to visit family one summer by his mother. And he was accused of whistling at a white woman, and a mob came after this kid, and they brutally murdered this kid. And the thing that his mother did, his mother had the foresight to say, when he has his funeral, I want the casket to be open so that America could see the injustices of America. And for me, as a father of a 14-year-old, of a soon-to-be 13-year-old, Black boys at that, it really, for me, when I had to revisit this story, and you've heard so many over the years, hearing the story over and over and seeing his bludgeoned face when he was in the casket, man, it really, for them to decide to create 3 monuments in his honor was something. But, it just kind of reiterated a lot of times, people of color are expected just to move on from tragedy, move on from things of this magnitude. And for me, it just rehashed the importance of making sure that we are diligent about history, making sure that we do not allow history to be erased or replaced because you have certain members or certain lawmakers and certain politicians that don't want our history to be told. So it's imperative that our history is told. So that, for me, that was one of the biggest things of this week, revisiting the whole Emmett Till unfortunate circumstances that happened years and years ago. But I was happy to see that these 3 monuments are going to be resurrected, one in Chicago and 2 of them in Mississippi where he was killed. What about you, bro?
Appreciate that. Cuzzo.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, you know, it was a productive week. Starting off on some new ventures. This obviously homelessness is an epidemic here in LA, so we are working on this behavioral health center and rehabbing, programming, and creating basically this from scratch. Obviously, I work in finance. Well, not obviously, I work in finance. Traditionally, built billion-dollar businesses, and a partner of mine came at me with this opportunity to, you know, do something special. So, you know, I've been pretty focused on that and just trying to get the groundwork running. We have our licensing in Nevada, which already is in progress. We're working on California, a few other states. So, you know, as every week is, you know, Sunday through Saturday, it's, you know, super busy, but, you know, productive, all moving in the right direction. So, you know, looking forward to starting my day off right with you guys and seeing how this goes.
All right, definitely appreciate that, and absolutely glad to have you here. And you know, I was excited to learn about the ventures that you're working on, and that one really does come close to home for me. You know, having been, I mean, we've well, the 2 of us have been here our whole lives. Well, I mean, you traveled the world, but I mean, like, we've basically been based here our lives, and then, you know, Sam's been around a bit, but it's disgusting here, homelessness, and you know, something has to happen, and you can't just shake a stick at it and have it go away. And so, you know, taking, you know, rolling up your sleeves and getting on your knees to really make an impact and make a difference is amazing. And you know, I hope that I can play some small part in the advancement of that. So thank you absolutely for sharing that. So we can get into it. You know, you touched it off, Sam, talking about the Emmett Till monument that is actually in 3 different places. It spans, you know, a total of 5.7 acres. And so officially it's called the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley National Monument. And it spans the Roberts Temple Church of God in Christ on the south side. And I don't have to say where, because if I say south side, y'all know what I'm talking about. And then Grayball Landing in Tallahatchie County, Mississippi, and then also the Tallahatchie County 2nd District Courthouse. This monument, I'm sure, was spearheaded by a lot of people, but the person who needed to actually move the needle or make the needle move on it was President Joe Biden. So, yeah, it is amazing that it's not just, you know, it's not just some small monument in one place. 5.7 acres, 3 different places. That's a lot. That's, I mean, I don't want to give false hope and say that it's progress, but I mean, I feel like it's progress. I mean, it's as close as we can get to progress. You know, any more thoughts on it?
I think more, yes, it's progress, but I think it's awareness, making sure that this doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be reminded that, you know, even if instances like what happened to Emmett Till aren't happening physically, there's still a lot of things that are happening, a lot of injustice, a lot of oppression, a lot of systemic racism that's still occurring. So I think it's imperative for us to never forget and continue to speak in volumes about this, the importance of not forgetting situations, not forgetting instances like this, as deplorable as it was. It's imperative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then, yeah, awareness, drawing awareness. I'll roll with that. I like that. So then we go to, I don't know the number, so I don't want to be wrong about this, but I can say tens of thousands comfortably which is scary. Tens of thousands of Black women are just missing all around the country. And we have the unfortunate reality that this young Carly Russell out of Alabama decided to fake a kidnapping of herself. Well, fake being kidnapped. And so it's a hoax. And so, law enforcement was involved and, people are searching for her. And then once she was returned, or once she did return, people are searching for her abductors and all of that. And it's just, it's taking the focus away from people who are really missing, taking resources away from people who are really missing. And then for the people that are in power and are on the fence about helping said sisters, then you have this situation, and then they're probably thinking, why waste our time? It's probably all hoaxes. Like, they're probably not really missing. So that was a really unfortunate development. The sheriff's department kept saying, we cannot verify that she was abducted, cannot verify. And then I guess she was persuaded to, or finally had her own come to Jesus moment. And so she came forth and said that she made it all up. And so what came down yesterday is that she was indicted on two misdemeanor counts. One is false reporting to law enforcement authorities, and the other is falsely reporting an incident. And people are hot. They're like, this is all that she faces, and it's a maximum of 1 year in jail on each count. So she's got a total of a maximum of 2 years if she is convicted and doesn't plea out, and she's absolutely going to plea out. But if a plea is offered, but I don't know. I'm torn because it is a sister, but like I'm not torn because it's like, yo, like this is ridiculous. Like you live in Alabama, you live in spots where I've been. Like I've been to, and I can't think of the names right now, but I've been all through Alabama, and I've been to her county and been Bessemer. I've been to her town, and it's not a lot there. And people are missing, and then you do this. What do you guys think? React.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my perspective, and it's going to be different than a lot. People do dramatic stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Like all the time. And I'm sure when she was, concocting this idea, she probably was under some mental distress, man. People just don't disappear unless something's going on. I know personally, I felt like days where I just want to like roll out, not answer phones. And I've done that. Like in my younger years, actually, when I went to stay with you, I literally dropped off the world. You know what I mean? And no one knew, and family looking for me. Sometimes, people get to that point. They get to that breaking point. So the media is going to focus on the one that did, that end up blowing up, but what about the ones that are missing on every single daily basis that they know that are missing, that there's been no progress on, that those just get buried underneath. So we're going to glorify the one example where, yeah, was she right? Nah, if it's some misdemeanor counts, then it probably wasn't honestly like, some nefarious, kind of activity that she was doing. She probably wanted to get away, needed some attention, said, okay, this is my ploy. And obviously it ended up spiraling out of control. So I'm more concerned about what her story is, and that we don't get lost on the, like you said, tens of thousands, which is a very, very liberal number. I don't want to, I don't want to get those lost and caught up, on the one. The media will do that every single time with our people specifically, and people of color. Like, hey, well, look at the one that, didn't, other nationalities, white people, like, to be honest, they could get away with this shit and it'll just get buried away. For her, she's going to get vilified. She's going to get crucified. She made a mistake. It was wrong, but let's not, let's just not just throw her to, to the gods.
Fair. Trilogy.
I think
Trilogy.
you mentioned off the top that people are upset about her false claims, her false claims, and justifiably so. But I think, if she was experiencing a mental health crisis, first and foremost, hopefully she receives the help that she needs to assist with her mental health, if that was a part of the equation. And then to dovetail off of what both of you have been saying, I want to make sure this doesn't minimize minimized Black women specifically. Yes, there are a lot of people missing, but Black women specifically, because they're disproportionately overlooked. So, I hope and pray that she's not the poster child moving forward for when there is someone that is truly missing. I don't want her name to be brought up. Well, maybe they're not missing because this last one did this, that, and the third. I think that's the least important component of this. We still need to be advocates for people of color. We know the disproportionate numbers of Black women that are missing, that are never, it seems like the investigations aren't thorough. It seems like the media coverage is insufficient, if there is any media coverage. And we have to first and foremost be advocates for our sisters to ensure that we do not allow stories to go untold and for there to be no awareness. So it's imperative that, yes, she did, falsify some claims or whatnot, but let's not make this solely about her. As I said, if she has experienced some mental health issues, let's pray that she gets the mental health assistance and aid that she needs, but let's be advocates for other women of color, other people of color who are missing, so that they hopefully could be found.
And you know what? I equate this to one of those situations where you say you have two teams, and on paper, one team should demolish the other one, right? But no games are played on paper. So on paper, this would be a quick topic with, just be like, it is what it is. But this is why we bring the topics to light on the Collective Podcast, because you have deeper dives into the importance of actually looking at someone's entire story, right? And also not forgetting about who else, the other people that are out there and really missing and all of that. So yeah, and then going back to Don's new venture, the epidemic of homelessness, but then add on to that the mental health aspect of not only homelessness, but the people who are seemingly thriving, but are not mentally healthy. Right. And mental health, especially in our community, has been such a taboo topic, such a taboo subject for eons. And it's just now with a lot of celebrities coming to light and saying, I suffer from mental illness, or, I'm not mentally healthy and this is what I'm doing to get well. That, people are becoming more comfortable with having discussions with therapists or, with their family members and bringing things to light, and, they're more comfortable asking for help. And so
let me add one thing to that. Go ahead. You have to think about it though. The mental health talk, this is still relatively new, especially in communities of color. For so many years, we talked about compartmentalization and just, taking trauma, tucking it away somewhere. Hopefully it won't rear its ugly head and you won't be triggered. But we didn't really approach mental health. You remember growing up, it was, all right, if kids are acting out, that's just a bad kid. Let's put them on in-house suspension, or we'll put them outside of school, outside suspension. But we never really addressed the root of the problem. Right. And a lot of times, especially with people of color that have been marginalized, that have been overlooked, there's so many terms for what we've been subjected to that can cause trauma. And if the trauma is never addressed, if we never talk about this topic talk about it face to face and address it, you try to compartmentalize, but compartmentalization is just putting a Band-Aid on something that could potentially get out of hand. So I think, as we talk about mental health, we can't talk about it enough, because for so many years, it was either not talked about or was minimized, or, people were just medicated, but we still never truly addressed how do you talk about mental health? What resources are available? And it's not, we can't have a cookie cutters approach, because how I deal with trauma is different than how Don deals with trauma. It's different from how you deal with trauma. So we need to keep this conversation going, because this conversation promotes awareness, first and foremost. Secondly, it promotes empathy, because even if you're not experiencing a mental health episode, you still need to understand that other people are dealing with things. And a conversation like this could help so many people. I think one of the things, and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, I wish we had a number that we can put up for like a mental health crisis hotline for people that may need some resources that are in that space, because there are a lot of people out there. A lot of times we think it's cut and dry. Oh, this person is just going nuts. But no, some people need to know that there are resources available where you can call someone and at least have someone to talk to that takes some of that weight off of your shoulders and help you, come up with some some actual action that you can implement to assist you with your mental health. I'll digress, but I really think it's such an important topic, and I'm so passionate about it.
Right. I mean, well, that's exactly what it is that we're doing. We have resources and contact lines because, mental health, when we grew up, mental health was a crazy dude that was on the corner, screaming and yelling, which was more than likely the drug addict, more than anything else. But there was always a stigma with having, this, thought, okay, this is what mental health looks like, straitjackets and medication. But mental health, it's the same way that your body is. You could wake up one day and things just not feel right. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that you're sick. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. Things just don't feel right. Well, it's the same with, for those that struggle with, mental health challenges. Like, I have no problem admitting, like, there's some days where I just don't really understand why I am not, able to optimize and hit everything on the head, and why I'm distracted and why I'm worrying. Those are things where we don't really have a place that we can really talk about. So the programs that we're looking to offer are going to address not just the destitute and the people that need immediate help, but also the support groups, also the systems, so that we can talk through these things. There has been, trauma that's been passed down from generations. It doesn't necessarily mean physical trauma, but, for me, my trauma is that, I've been taught at a very young age that I have to work extremely hard every single day. Right. And that's how I'm going to get to like these keys of success, But in that work, you're missing out the most important thing, which is time spent with your family, time spent with your kids. So my struggle this whole life was like, okay, I got to work. But I've missed out on some other areas of my life because I've been focusing on this thing that has been, embedded in me from day one. So being able to identify those things and be like, hey, this isn't, the way that life is supposed to be lived for everybody, that we all do have things that, we can do differently and improve on. And, just being able to address those things, having an outlet and having a forum. I mean, that's exactly what we're starting. We're starting from day one, and just graduation step process through the whole thing until you achieve whatever your definition of success is. Doesn't mean you got to make $1 million a year. Doesn't mean you have to have the big house. Your definition of success might, be living on a small island in Belize, you know what I mean? And not having any like worldly values, but trying to help people to overcome those challenges that are inhibiting them from living to their maximum potential.
That's beautiful. And we we definitely want to watch your progress on that and hear more about it as you get closer to launching. Elaine sent a couple comments in about, kind of building on, what Sam said. And also, like, if we look at this, like when we were younger or when we were kids, a lot of the jokes were blah 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 blah. You must have come in on a short bus. You came. It was always about the short bus. It was I don't know about other parts of the country, but generally the disabled students and the students with mental health issues, or the special needs students, and they weren't necessarily called that back then, were on a shorter yellow school bus, because there were fewer of them, right? Or fewer of them who had been identified. And so the short bus, it was a really derogatory term. And I'm glad that, we don't use that term as adults. And I'm hoping that the kids today don't. I'm hearing more and more about mental health awareness in songs. One of my favorite artists right now, Mariah the Scientist. You guys may not have even heard of her, but Mariah the Scientist, just amazing. She sings about not just love, but like mental health and, suicide prevention, and thought about this. I mean, just like her lyrics, the production also, but just like the lyrics, her lyrics take you on journeys. And so just check Mariah the Scientist out. But speaking of people who have certain, and I'm going to make a joke, people who have certain issues with grasping what is right and what is wrong. We have Elaine, who still thinks that, oh, that's a Don too, so I'm not going to make the joke. All right, I won't make the joke. So anyway, here's Elaine talking about a phenomenal show, but she's mad that it's on Apple TV Plus. Whatever. Truth be told, is absolutely amazing. And there were 3 seasons of it. So yeah, check it out. I'm not even gonna make the joke today. So anyway, yeah. So thank you for that, Carly Russell. So I think we can skip over Messi this week. We can circle back because we running short and we blew him up last week. Oh, I wanted to clarify. I said that he scored on a PK. It was actually a free kick. So I just wanted to clarify that from last week. It was not a PK. It was a free kick. The way that I described it was still absolutely correct, but it was not a PK. So just wanted to come back and clarify that. And then we can hop into the good old Women's National Basketball Association and the playoff picture. The Las Vegas Aces are still putting their feet on people's necks. They are 22, having won obviously 22 of their first 24. Having won 20 of their first 22, they tied a record for their 4-way tie for the having won 20 of your first 22. They're only the 4th team to do that. That's what I'm trying to say. The record to start a season is 25-2 by the Comets, and so at 22-2, they're just 3 games away from tying that record, only losing 2 of your first 27. So we'll see if they can get there on their heels. And I say that with air quotes because they're 4 games back, and the WNBA is an abbreviated season, so 4 games back is a lot. The New York Liberty, and the way that the WNBA works, even though you have the East and the West, the playoff format is such that just the one seed is the top seed overall, and then you have play-ins at the bottom, and I won't get into how that works, but the NBA actually got their play-in system from the WNBA because they don't start it off as simple as 1 versus 8. The way that it works is the top 4 teams have buys in the first round, and so you have 5 playing 8 and 6 playing 7, and then the winners of those will play against the 3 and the 4, and then the winners of those will play against the 1s and the 2s in the semis. So it really pays to be one of the top 2 teams because you could just chill and laugh at all the minions that are trying to get to you and take your crown. So the Aces looking great to go back to back. You guys have any thoughts on the W before we move over to the league?
Yeah, well, the Aces are going to have a nice test tomorrow. They play the Wings tomorrow. The Wings have won 8 out of their last 10 games. So the Wings, don't let their record fool you. They're 13-10, but as I said, they've been pretty hot, winning 8 out of their last 10 games. And the Aces I believe they play them in Dallas. So that should be a good game tomorrow. Hopefully a competitive game. And hopefully the Aces haven't already, felt like they've punched their ticket, so they're overlooking teams because, that could be detrimental, and the Liberty can catch them faster than they anticipated. So I'm looking forward. I'm gonna watch that one tomorrow, Aces and Wings.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. I don't think that's the case because, first of all, they lost that last game before the All-Star break, I believe, to the Wings. So they're not overlooking anyone. It was a close game, but they've now won 6 in a row, and they're 9-1 over their last 10. So they're 1 game better than Dallas over the last 10. But I think that they know that on any given night, they can falter. So they try to do it from so many different directions. So I don't feel like they'll just cash it in. But I also think that, Dallas is coming to play. Dallas is the 4 seed right now. And they're 4 games behind the 3 seed. So it's not going to be easy for them to catch Connecticut or New York because Connecticut and New York are tied, but they are on the heels of that 2-3 seed right now. So yeah, I think it'll be a good game too, but I think the Aces will prevail. So we have another situation where we have a whirlwind. I mean, this guy was coaching Division III in 2018. Now he's a he's the offensive coordinator of the Chargers, and I want to say he was the offensive coordinator of the Cowboys. So, but he was a Division III assistant coach. He was a Division III assistant coach in 2018. Kellen Moore. He's the OC with the Chargers. Brandon Staley was quoted as saying that, and I'll paraphrase that, Kellen Moore with him reminds him of his situation with the Rams and how it was just one of those things where everything happened so quickly, and then they had this 12-hour interview process, and then like, okay, you're definitely the one for me. So whereas Staley fired his offensive coordinator within hours of that collapse last year in the playoffs, he feels like Kellen Moore is the answer for the future. And I mean, I don't care about the Chargers and I don't care about the Cowboys. we're here to just talk about the topics, right? So what do you guys think about Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator of the Chargers? And does he move the needle?
Right. Well, I mean, I think if you look at just last year, the coaches that remained, you know what I mean, outside of Andy Reid, you know, these coaches were all pretty unestablished, you know what I mean? Not the big names, you know, not the Belichick's of the world, not the Tomlinsons of the world. You know, you're seeing a new breed of coach, right? You know, like the Miami head coach, I can't think of his name. The dude looks like a scientist, you know what I mean? The glasses. Oh, yeah. You know, these guys are, you know, they're kind of changing the game. If you look at the modern athlete and how they want to be coached, and not even just a modern athlete, the modern employee and people that are, you know, just coming into the workforce, it's different. So back then you had, you know, the structures of, you know, the Cowers and the Dungies, and, you know, you had these guys that had that mentality. Well, this generation of players wants to feel good and they want to feel better. And so having people that were not necessarily football people that came from that, you know, 80s, 90s bred of toughness, and having more, you know, kind of intellects and looking at offenses and looking at strategies, you know, I think that he might not have that experience level, but it might not be a bad thing. I think that they've got the, you know, the Chargers have the talent at quarterback. You know, they've got a serviceable, you know, defense. They play in a division where it's pretty tough. So once they get out of the division, you know, they normally do pretty good. You know, we'll see. You know, they all don't work out, but I think that, you know, the new modern NFL is, you know, take these smart guys and see if they can, you know, get the prima donnas to, you know, just run their routes and do their thing rather than grind them and beat them into the ground. So Kellen Moore, I don't know if it'll work specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
Yeah. All right. I need to, as we talk NFL under this NFL umbrella, I'm going to talk just about my great disdain for the direction that NFL is moving in terms of undervaluing or devaluing running backs.
Okay.
It is sad when you look at teams with balanced scoring attacks, teams that can play smash mouth downhill football, meaning run the ball up the gut and have a legitimate passing game. That's what you need in order to be a legit team, like a top tier team. Why do you feel, and I'm gonna go to you, AC, as a referee, as a person that has a
I thought you mean as a 49er fan with a balanced attack. My bad. Go ahead.
No, we're not talking about them today. Okay, that's going to be episode 200.
You're not a smash mouth. He literally described a smash mouth football team. The last thing when I think about Christian McCaffrey is a smash mouth running back.
That's not smash mouth football. Why do you have? Look, why do you have players like Zeke that still aren't signed? Saquon jumped off of his allegiance with the other backs and signed, which was great for his best interest. But why do you think that the league has shifted where running backs aren't being valued?
So I feel like we just wind up with these trends that come from these guys that Don was just talking about. Like we turn the corner and we seem to be the last to know. Like these guys train their whole lives to be NFL running backs, and then by the time that you get there, oh, the game changed yesterday. I mean, right. Ezekiel Elliott just signed a big contract and then was like out. You know, we're sitting up there working the practice on Thursday, and guys are like, "Oh yeah, Zeke's not here. Like the officials were like, yeah, no, he's. And then the discussion was, has he signed yet?
No.
And as we look at Pollard over there, and it's like, nah. And so I think the idea is that ownership decided, okay, well, we really want to hang everything on the quarterback. And so we want to pay them all the money. We want them to be the face of the organization. And so we need the pieces that are going to construct a team that can win or be entertaining. Hopefully both is what they're saying, but win or be entertaining and bring money in the door with complementary pieces around that quarterback. But we want to focus on simply what that quarterback can do. And it kind of goes back to how all of let's just go with football and basketball, how both football and basketball are changing right before our eyes. It's like they don't care about the formulas of the past. It's like they want gimmick stuff. They want stuff that can just be different. They all want to feel like they were innovators. And I think that I feel like the running back position is being affected by that.
Right.
But let me just say this one more thing. Don from Atlanta, he did say balanced attack, and I know we're not talking about my team specifically, but my team is also one of the teams not only with the balanced attack, but that also employs an actual fullback. So you talk about valuing backs. Certain organizations still do, but most of them don't, Sam, and I really don't know why that came about.
Le'Veon Bell is the reason why. When he came and he wanted to change the contract, when he was like, I'm the best player on the field and I want to be paid like a running back and a wide receiver, that was it.
Yeah.
They stopped giving out contracts over there. So then they became, if you look at the new CBA, they became the least incentivized position. So he overplayed his hand by demanding all this money and getting shipped out to the Jets and then basically falling off the face of the earth. But once he started demanding the contracts, that's when they stopped paying him. So, and then also the schemes have changed. Like you say, if you look at, what Kerr did with the Warriors and we'll give Mark Jackson credit. When Mark Jackson started with the Warriors, with everybody's going to shoot threes and everything else, they see what works and they went that direction. Well, you see what Patty's done in KC, and I couldn't tell you next year who the running back was in this past Super Bowl. Because the game has changed and they've gone to a more spread. They've gone to the 5-yard pass rather than trying to pound the ball up the middle. If you look at balanced attack, Tennessee has had a balanced attack. Maybe not the best quarterback in the league, but they've got the smash nose. They've got the running back. They've got the defense. They're out in the first or second round every single year. So they've gone to, okay, forget me handing them the ball for 5 yards because the potential of turning that 5 into 80 is probably, maybe 2%, turning a 5-yard game into 80. But if I have a dump off on a screen, that 5-yard pass can very easily become an 80-yard pass based off of skill sets that are on the corners when you've got, speed guys that, would have back in the 90s would have been probably like slash running backs. Now you put them all out in the flat and they could just make things happen. So, part of it was pricing and part of it is just, innovate. You copy who's winning until you find a formula to beat it. And that's what the league is going to.
Yeah, and so I'd say that it's the league because that's our topic. Like Sam said, that's our umbrella right now. But that's sports now. That's everybody is trying to figure out a way to do something different and also win. And it's like, okay, well, this guy or this woman did this differently and won. So I have to one up her or I have to one up him. And by the way, y'all not one up in Becky Hammond. I just want to let y'all know it's not happening anytime soon. Okay. I digress. Yeah, so there's that. And then, I thought you were going to start talking about the defensive backs, and I could say that I feel like rule changes throughout the recent years have definitely affected what defensive backs can do as it pertains to receivers and tight ends. And so obviously, the NFL wants more scoring. And so, you make it harder to stop the offenses. And I think that has a lot to do with with the transformation of the defensive back also. So
we've seen an abundance of that in terms of NFL as well as the NBA. They want score, 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 virtually no defense. So the defense pretty much is penalized, and because they want to just score, score, score. In NFL, pass the ball, big plays, score, score, score. They don't reward the defense. NBA, we've seen small ball pretty much eliminate the centers and just have the guards out there running ISO and shoot from as far as possible.
Yeah, they've taken the physicality out of both, out of football and out of basketball. From a purist perspective, I just don't like it. I like to see hard fouls. I like to see hockey fighters. I like to see hockey fights. I like to see aggression. I like to see, competitiveness. I mean, that's what defines competitiveness to me is, willing to do whatever it takes to win a game. Defensively, you've got to be careful how you hit somebody. You can't really get physical outside of line of scrimmage. Great, defensive backs, and mostly like in the safety, we're known for like just rocking world. You got like, Ronnie Lotz, Bob Sanders, Palomalu's. Like the NFL might not see the excitement in that, but I was definitely excited when I saw, those hits and I would never play, you know what I mean? So, I understand they want to protect the game and protect the players, I get it, but I kind of like it, so.
Yeah. And so that takes me to one of it looks like we're going to be ended on the NFL. That's one of the things that's tough for us as officials, especially not so much in basketball. I mean, we hear the whole stupid, let them play. But you really wind up with this, and I want to go to these real contact sports, football and lacrosse, where they want to take concussions. They're trying their best to take concussions out of these games and head injuries and neck injuries. And, the people who can play longer because they are healthy longer and who have a better quality of life after their career is over don't really know that they're going to have a better quality of life after their career is over because they're still playing. And so, they grew up watching the game played one way, and they don't necessarily agree with the studies that show that these rule changes as it pertains to head up tackling, leading with the shoulder as opposed to leading with the crown of the helmet, protect the person delivering the blow a lot of times more so than the person receiving the blow or absorbing the contact. Same thing in lacrosse. We have a men's league where it's people who played at a pretty high level in college, and now they're playing post-collegiate lacrosse. And we had a guy run against the grain the other day and deliver a blindside hit. And they're like, well, this is men's league. And it's like, yeah, this is men's league. All y'all got to go to work tomorrow. None of you guys are getting paid for this. You just put this dude in the hospital. And you're trying to justify that. Well, if I was playing at da-da-da-da. No, that hit has been taken out of lacrosse altogether. And to Don's point, he talks about hockey fights. He talks about those blows delivered by Troy Polamalu, one of my favorite players, Ronnie Lott. Like the punishment of it all. Yeah. So it's about making that adjustment because you could still, and so that's the thing. That's the thing that has to be sold. You can still deliver a blow, but they just have to know that it's coming, and you just can't lead with your helmet. And there are a couple of other parameters, but that is an adjustment. And so that's not easy for most of the fans to accept, and it's not easy for a lot of the coaches to coach because they absolutely played the game a different way. And so they're not necessarily adapting properly to it.
Do you think that they really do, though? You did make a point. You say that they play longer. I don't know if that is a fact, right? So I do completely understand you do want to, limit the harm and concussions. All these things are a real thing. But man, for me, it seemed like, I can name safeties that, like these guys, Rod Woodson, these guys played for years, now I couldn't give you outside of like Pat Patterson and maybe like Jalen Ramsey, the longevity of the position is, do they have longer careers now is basically what I'm asking you. Are they just out of the league?
So that's actually what I'm saying. I think that we have to look back on it. I think it's happening now. Like we're in the midst of this change. And so we don't know. In my mind, the science makes sense, or at least the opportunity to play long. Like, this is the thing. There are more factors involved now, Don, because people are getting bigger checks on a weekly basis than they were before. So some people are retiring earlier. You know, Aaron Donald almost retired on top of the world the other day. You know, the other day as in when they won, and now, you know, the Rams are trash. They're not going to get back to that. So he's not going to experience that championship again. So, you know, he's not going to get a chance to retire on top of the world, but he feels like he's in a great place physically. And so people are leaving earlier under their own volition. And so they're not necessarily playing longer, but they're choosing to leave. And then some people are playing longer than they would have been able to because they would have had certain injuries that would have, you know, turned into something that would have stopped them from playing. But I think that we're going to have to look back on it, and we're going to have to put, you know, there'll be some studies that have to put all of those parameters inside of it and show, okay, well, these people actually walked away, so we can't count them. It's like the people who wanted to keep playing. How long did they play? You know, how did the injuries affect them? But I think it's too early to tell, but I think I believe that it's trending in the right direction. Let me go to this LinkedIn user. It doesn't say their name, but I don't really understand this. You believe the referees need to call the games equally. I think, is that one thought? And then the second thought is, if you're in the way, they're part of the game, so run them over. Are you saying run the referees over? Referees, well, not necessarily referees, but officials do get run over, but I don't know that has anything to do with them calling the game equally. So I think that every official out there does believe that they are calling the game equally, unless they're Tim Donaghy, you know. So, and when we talk about these leagues, okay, so two different thoughts. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, they do get run over sometimes. You know, like that's one of the reasons that the umpire position in the NFL was moved out of the middle of the field into the offensive backfield, opposite the referee. You know, Chad Brown, rest in peace, who was one of the greatest umpires of all time, called it the meat grinder. He wrote a book in the meat grinder talking about being in the middle. That position is still there in college. And they also have a position, which is my position, center judge, in the offensive backfield. But yeah, the umpire is there, so they're subject to get run over. Also the referee and the center judge, which, you know, are in the offensive backfield. The sideline people should pretty much be protected, unless there's a play that's being carried to the sideline and then they get rolled up. But as far as players and coaches on the sideline, they shouldn't be in the way at all. But yeah, officials know that they might get taken down, but that shouldn't have anything to do with how they call the game. If you don't call a game fairly and you're doing it on purpose, then you don't need to be officiating. And I'd say you're scum. So that's where I stand with it. Yeah. So really quickly, because we gotta move to the closeout. OBJ, Odell Beckham. Oh yeah, we're not doing suffixes this week. So OB is in Baltimore. He's on the Ravens. People were in an uproar about him missing voluntary workouts, and it's like they're voluntary. And then they were like, yeah, the offensive coordinator didn't mind him missing. It's voluntary. Even if the offensive coordinator did mind, he can't say that he minded, and he can't really mind because it's voluntary. But anyway, let's talk briefly about the impact, if any, we think that OBJ will have on the Baltimore area first, and then impact on the team. Go.
All right. So OBJ, you know, one thing I can say is Father Time's undefeated. And so, you know, he's had injuries and surgeries and injuries. And so I'm hoping that he'll be on the mend, and I'm hoping that he will be fully healthy once the season is upon us. More importantly, his presence in the city of Baltimore, a city that, let's just be honest, Baltimore is a tough city. Baltimore is a blue-collar town, but Baltimore is a place that has a great fan base, is a place that is benefiting from a huge talent in Lamar Jackson, who, thank God, did not listen to all of the skeptics that wanted him to become a wide receiver when he came out of Louisville. So, and we're seeing a rock star in the quarterback in the form of Lamar Jackson. So back to Odell Beckham Jr. I think that his rock star persona, I think that his ability to connect with kids in the Baltimore community, that's where it should truly play dividends, because kids are drawn to him. He's been a stand-up guy in the league. Yes, you know, a lot of wide receivers, we've seen it, are prima donnas, but I think he minimizes that prima donna aspect of who he is, and really could be great for the kids there in Baltimore. And I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, definitely wish him the best. I don't know that he's gonna. I mean, the only game changer there is Lamar Jackson. So, what he does. I mean, the best ability is availability. So if he's available, he'll make a he'll make a contribution. Is he gonna lead the league in receptions? No. Is he gonna lead the league in catches? I'm sorry, yards. Very, very doubtful. The Ravens go as Lamar goes. They'll have a stout defense as they've always had. If Lamar is healthy, then they're in the playoffs last year. So if he's healthy this year, they'll be fine. But if he goes down, it doesn't matter who's on that corner. So, he'll be serviceable, but he's not. Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, so I thank you for that, both Sam and Don. And I think that my take on it is really about the community impact. Like, I think this is really good for that community. I think that, by all accounts, Odell Beckham, no suffix, is a really personable guy and really does care about the communities that he's playing in, and really does care about making an impact on kids and all of that. So that's a really good thing. And I think that I haven't heard, and maybe I've missed it, but I haven't heard anything about him being a bad teammate. I've only heard good things about him in the locker room. So I think that he makes an impact there. To Don's point, I don't think it's about what he can do in an actual game. I do think he'll have some opportunities to make a couple of big plays throughout the season and impact the game in that way. But I don't think he'll make a consistent impact in any game. And I don't think that he'll consistently impact their games throughout the season. But I think that in the locker room and in the community and in a couple of plays throughout the year, he'll be able to make an impact. So that's what I think. And I think that, and I don't know, because I'm not inside of that ownership group, but I think that they were thinking about the locker room impact and the community impact more so than what he's probably going to do on the field at this point. And I could be dead wrong, but that's my take on it. So fair
enough.
All right, so we're up on it. So listen, we want to once again thank you guys for coming through to episode 111 of the Collective Podcast. I am AC from LA. He's SG Trilogy. That's Don. Cuzzo down there. Loving to have him come through. So we're at the point of the episode, Don, where we go to the closeout. And so the closeout is just each of us talking individually for a minute or a little more, just basically with a closing shot. So you're first up on the closeout. You got a minute with the people, Don.
Yeah, so it was a great time, I'm just looking forward to this week, being productive. My kids just got back. They were gone for a couple days with my wife up to Beaumont. So gonna hang out with the fam for the day, get ready for this weekend. Looking forward to next week. I'll try to hop back on for 112. I appreciate your guys' hospitality. We'll get into some sports next week. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Cuzzo. We appreciate that. I want to shout out my this guest. It says LinkedIn user, but I just logged into LinkedIn and I see that it's my good buddy Cabot John Benavidez from an undisclosed golf course somewhere in the Western Hemisphere. So shout out to Cabot for watching us and making the comments about the referees getting run over. Now I understand all of those comments. He was laughing while he was typing all that out. Yeah, Cabot, go run 5 miles backwards today. Go ahead and close out, Trilogy.
All right. So a couple of things. I just want our viewers to know. Yes, we talk a great deal about sports, but today, as you saw, we had an organic conversation about the importance of mental health awareness. Also about having empathy and an understanding for those families and people that might be experiencing mental health, and then the importance of us. And I'm talking specifically the three of us, because it starts with you as an individual, but the three of us making sure that we're advocates for ensuring when they're missing people that typically don't have any limelight, that we're advocates to make sure that those people have voices through us, through our platform. So that's important. Another thought that I had is just making sure that you celebrate your victories every day. If that victory for you is just waking up, if that victory for you is just to be able to encourage someone else, celebrate your victories every single day. Don't let a day pass where you don't celebrate something positive. That's so important. And then lastly, our most precious commodity is time. And I told you before, AC, like I lost three friends, one family member earlier this year. And then this week, I just lost another friend. And it really kind of made me look back at time. Our most precious commodity is the only thing that we can't get back. So we truly need to be stewards of our time, meaning spend your time doing things that are productive. Spend your time with your family, your loved ones, your friends, and spend your time making an impact. And so those are kind of three things that I wanted to touch upon in closing. So
yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Sam. Thank you for that, Don. And one of the things that you just mentioned is something that I've always admired about my cousin. He's slightly younger, but he started his family he went into parenthood way before me, and hence started his family way before me. But I always loved his balance, and he wasn't always pleased with his balancing act, but I love the fact that this dude always had, like, we mirrored each other and always having an entrepreneurial spirit, always wanting to be innovators, always wanting to make an impact and all of that. And I just, I love him for that. And I love the fact that, he's continued to do that. And now, I love that he's bringing that to the community once again, because he's had some other solid impacts on the community that, I'll let him talk about that the next time that he comes. But, I'm excited about that. And then, I don't know if you guys know the background, but someone who's like a sister to me, Sean, is Sam's wife. And so I met Sam through Sean. Even though we grew up here, I never met Sam. And so I met him through Sean, who's like my sister, and Sam has become like a brother to me. And then our relationship has become even stronger through him watching the podcast and then, coming on the podcast as a guest and then becoming, a co-host on the podcast. So I've seen the progression there, but, this guy's always someone I could talk to. He makes all kind of jokes, like when I'm dating, about my dating life and all of that. And, he even had a nickname for me at one point.
It's still the nickname is still current. That's another episode right there, but the nickname still applies.
Okay, so he has a nickname for me as a person who dates. And so it's always been a nice exchange with him. But to have my people here, when people talk about who are your closest friends, I always say my cousin is my closest friend. It's a weird thing because then there are a lot of cousins that I don't get down with. Like I get down with his sisters, but outside of that, it's like a lot of cousins that I don't get down with. And so, it's an interesting concept. But as I always say, it is extremely important to remind your family that you love them. Remind your friends that you love them if you do. And if you don't love them, then hopefully you like them a lot. And if you don't like them a lot, then they probably shouldn't be your friends. Just keep that in mind. or you shouldn't be their friends. And maybe just reevaluate that whole thing and then stop wasting each other's time.
You love your cousins, man. I don't know why you're trying to act like that. I'll name out your favorite cousins, or you better cut the show right now. You got somewhere to be, or I'll put you on blast, man.
Dude, this dude likes to say that because I will heart a message on Facebook that
3
means
hearts.
way more than it does.
3 hearts, man. 3 hearts. 3 hearts, man. This dude's a lover boy, man.
Listen, I'm not doing this with you.
That goes along with your nickname there.
Oh, I'm
Lover
sure
boy.
it does, man. I could probably, if I sat here for another hour, I'd probably guess it, man.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, no doubt.
all right, listen. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Money Green 23. Shout out to Draymond Green.
Here it is, dude. He would wait till the last minute. I was waiting for this in minute 1, man. You know, we get all heart to heart. You know, we start getting all deep. I'm like, bro, I just came here to blow you up on Draymond, man. But it's all good, man. We'll say that. We'll say that for another day.
No,
there was
listen,
more inspiring conversation to be had today, but don't think that this isn't the normal me, bro. Like, I'm gonna light you on fire. So be ready.
Yeah, well, I've been ready. Like you were the original person I invited to the podcast. Remember, you were one of the original.
Yes, we've already discussed
the original.
Yes.
When the original construct, you were one of the 5. You were number 2. I was number 1. You were number 2, but you didn't have the time.
This dude. Okay. All right.
No, I got you. But listen. It's important. Like, let people know how you feel, because you never know. Like, with all the craziness out there, you never know when you won't have another opportunity. That could just creep up on you, or when they won't have another opportunity, or they're saying, well, the last time that I talked to him, or the last time that I talked to her, and it really winds up being the last time. You just don't know, and you don't want to have regrets. I just want to say that to you. That's how I feel, and I imagine if we all really think about that, then none of us want to have those regrets. So thank you for joining us again. This was episode 111 of the Collective Podcast. I mean, we had an absolute ball. I'm gonna go back to the song that we came in on. I'm gonna go back to Rock Cocaine, which is De La Soul featuring MF Doom. And
AC, can I jump in with one last item?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
For our viewers, for our listeners, if you have ideas, if it's something you want to talk about, feel free, reach out to us. I'm SG Trilogy on IG. He's AC from LA. Reach out to us because we want to hear from you so we can know what's on your mind as well.
Yeah, give them 2 more sentences while I set this up.
Yeah, so right now our resident DJ, he's working on some closeout music. But yeah, like someone like you, Elaine, you show nothing but love, and you have a high sports, news, everything IQ. So we definitely want to hear from you. So if there's a topic, anything on your mind, please. And you're gonna have to come join us on the episode. We've talked about it before. We want to see you, Elaine, because you know we have nothing but love for you here. But anyone, if you have any topics, feel free. Reach out to AC from LA on IG. Reach out to SG Trilogy on IG so we can address some hard-hitting topics. And we're not relegated to stay in one lane. So that's a beautiful thing about the Collective Podcast.
It looks like
Maestro,
AC's Apple's probably having some issues, man. Those Apple products, man, typically don't work when you need them. I mean, if you want, you could just send me the music. I could play it. I mean, you got a hard stop in like 30 seconds. So, but we'll continue to wait, man. I'll continue to stall, man. You want me to do like a dance or something, man, and entertain the crowd, man, while your Apple products continue to load?
Yeah. So as I was saying, right, Elaine, it wasn't going to be an episode where we, belabored the point of Draymond. I just had to say his name for effect. Although, in case you guys didn't notice,
this guy,
the name bubbles are green. Oh, they green.
I think you have a secret crush on Draymond, man.
Nah, it's not.
It's not a secret. Trust me.
yeah,
It's
Not-
not.
I
It's
don't
not
have
a
a crush
secret.
on. Listen, I don't
fanboy,
have a.
man.
Listen, I just had a great
Yes.
closer. I don't have a crush on Draymond.
See, this is what's stopping you from making it to the NBA, man. Your love of Draymond Green, man. They already know that this is a Warriors homer right here, man.
Yes.
All right, so listen. Thank you guys for coming through episode 111 of the Collective Podcast. SG Trilogy over there, Don down there. Don wanted to flambe me. I guess he'll come back next week and do some more of that. Elaine, Cabot, thank you for coming through. James Montgomery, thank you for coming through. Everybody who's watching the replay or listening later, thank you. We're out.
Peace.